Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. More senseless gun violence brings us here, and I'm just tired of it. When is it going to stop? When are we going to discontinue covering up these deep wounds with head-turning, finger-pointing, and hollow words? And the humble words, but determined words of Dr. Martin Luther King, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So I say to our fellow citizens, enough is enough. We must start speaking up and taking purpose-driven action to put an end to another one of our children being lost to the dynamics of gun violence. Our children are walking themselves proudly, by the way, into the doors of death or into the doors of the prison system, when they should be proudly running to grab their high school diplomas and into the doors of the next college or university. How can we redirect their walk? How can we stop another grandmother from hearing that the apple of her eye has lost her life to a shooting, will now have to be raised by the penal system? I've always noted as your mayor that I don't have all the answers, and I'm noting it again, I do not have all the answers, but in fact, I'm telling you, we all have to join together. This has to be a community effort with everyone taking stock and putting an end to these senseless killings and shootings at the hem of illegal guns. I want it to stop. Enough is enough. Our children deserve so much more than the state prison system or a coffin. They deserve the opportunity to achieve goals and believe in themselves. They deserve parents and community members that care enough to stand and redirect them, letting them know that enough is enough. As many of us had as we were growing up, I have repeatedly said it would be sheer arrogance to believe government, myself, city council members who are here with us today, can do it alone. Because in this situation, it's going to take all of us, all of us. The best antidote to antisocial, threatening behavior is eternal vigilance on behalf of all of us, especially our own citizens. Therefore, I continue to urge our citizens to stand up and speak out against antisocial behaviors, any threats of violence, and any suspected crime. For the record, reporting illegal weapons or criminal behavior is not snitching. It is doing what you're supposed to do, your civic duty, and why we should be doing it for our kids' sakes. It is exercising your rights to make your block and your neighborhood to be what it should be, safe for you, your family, and neighbors. Our solidarity and support must be with peace, safety, and security, not with thugs and punks and people who just don't get it, other social miscreants. Our solidarity and support must be with providing structure and fun-filled activities for our youth of today and more than ever. Our kids should not be robbed of such opportunities because of the selfish behavior of few. The priceless value in their lives should be reason enough for everyone to join in this effort in keeping our community safe. I'm looking to you, my community, our citizens, for your assistance in helping to keep our community safe. There are a number of activities and opportunities for you to be involved. And I'm asking you all to work with us, work with law enforcement to ensure the safety of our community. I have mentioned earlier our members of council that's with us today. I want to recognize Council President Carol Hill Evans. The Councilwoman Sandy Walker is the newly appointed police liaison for City Council, and she has a few words to offer.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. It is with sheer and utter disdain that I stand before you today to address, after the fact, recent unsettling events in our community related to our young people and crime. I come before you today as a newly elected member of York City Council, to which I am appointed as the liaison for the York City Police Department. I come before you today giving you my word on being actively committed in working with our community and working with our police department in building dialogue, developing and implementing evidence-based solutions, working towards putting an end to violence that is present in our city. As many of you may know or are aware of, I'm no stranger to this community. I am a lifelong resident of this community. I was on the school board for 6 years, and being in that position, I know that our York City School District has a huge role in partnering with the City of York to make sure that we are able to effectively address the issues of crime in our city. Although I no longer stand in that capacity as a school board member, I believe that the school district is doing more than their part to make sure that we are able to do the change that we want to see in our community. The school district has extended the school day. The school district has buildings as safe havens, and the school district continues to connect different students to services that are needed throughout the social arena. I continue to work with the school district as we address the issues in our community in regards to violence and to truancy. As with any system of change, it takes all parts of our community to work together. It is an equal effort, from our schools to our government to public and private entities to our community members and definitely our parents and guardians. It falls on all of us. Parents, guardians, community members, we absolutely positively need you. We need you to ensure our youth are in school. We need you to ensure that our youth have a safe place to go after school. We need you to ensure that our youth needs are being met. We have a plethora of activities, after-school programs that exist in our cities. If you have questions, feel free to call out of our social agencies, the YMCA, the YWCA, the Salvation Army, St. Matthew's, the Christmas Addicts Associations, and there are many more community entities throughout the city that are addressing the needs of our youth. So together we must take accountability, together we must provide action, and together we must stand, because if we don't, divide it, we'll fall. So we want to continue to work together to make sure that we can make this the best place for our city and for our youth. Thank you.
You realize Councilman Nixon is with us as well. Again, council members, we thank you both, all three of you, for being with us today. We'll hear from Chief Kelly now.
Good afternoon. As the mayor alluded to, the simple fact comes down to we need the community's involvement. Our officers, and I have to very much pat them on the back, have been working diligently on this spike in crime recently. In the month of December alone, we had 16 individuals that were shot in this city. It's probably the largest number we've had in quite some time. I don't have December going back. Although our numbers were falling over the last several years, and much into this year, this fall, we saw a spike in crime. And much of this spike is caused by young members of our community. We're not dealing with adults, we're dealing with teenagers. Teenagers with guns, and these are illegal guns. The people that we're arresting, that we know are suspects in these crimes, aren't even old enough by law to own a weapon of any type. So the weapons they're handling are illegal to begin with. We need people to come forward and help us. I'm very much dismayed when our victims don't want to cooperate with us. Most of them, many of them, I shouldn't say most, have lied to us throughout this process, given us false names, lied to us about what is taking place, and it causes our detectives, our investigators, our officers to have to dig further through wrong information to try and figure out exactly what took place. So even if an individual doesn't want to be a victim, we look at this as the community being a victim. There's no need for this to be taking place in such a small city as York. It's unacceptable. We're going to do our job to go out and arrest these individuals. You saw with the recent Southside investigation. We'll go to any extent with our state and federal partners to make sure that anyone that's visiting violent crime in this city and causing it to occur within our city is going to get a visit from us or the federal government. We're tired of it. It's unacceptable. It's dangerous to the people that live and work in this community that are trying to do the right thing. It's dangerous to our police officers that have to go out and deal with this every day. And it's not something that's going to be tolerated. Our officers have been working diligently around the clock on this. You saw a recent press release with a 16-year-old female that was involved in the latest shooting. To me, that's something out of TV. Something that I haven't heard of before, where a 16-year-old female is now accused of shooting another person in the head. Something has to stop. We need your help. We're asking you to come forward and partner with us, to partner with our the people working with us from the federal government and from the state government, and ask you to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Just ignoring it and allowing the violence to continue isn't a solution. It's just going to make matters worse, and at some point you may become an unwilling victim of the violence that's taking place. So we need everyone's help to handle this matter. At this point, we'll take any questions unless you have
A couple questions.
Chief, if there was just one thing that the community could do in this partnership that you described with the police, what would it be?
We need their eyes and ears, and we need the information that they know. Even if it's, and I've said this before, even if it's anonymously, it helps us out tremendously. It helps us corroborate the information that we're getting. As I said, in many of the cases recently, when we go back into December, a lot of our victims lied to us even about their name from the very beginning. So, it's a lot of wasted man hours and cost to the city for our detectives to have to dig through going down the wrong path as to what's taking place. And even if that person, like I said, doesn't want to be a victim, and I have no clue why you would not want to make yourself a victim. You've been shot. We've had people paralyzed. We've had people killed. But if that's your decision, that's the path that you want to take, the community's still the victim in this case. And that's why we're going to continue to working on it and arrest the people that are responsible.
So you want the neighborhood residents to ID the individuals that are actually involved in the...
Pass whatever information along. Some people may not be willing to come forward and put themselves out to where they're going to directly stand up and say that's the person, but it's helpful to us often when we get phone calls, even anonymously, about information. It helps us tremendously. Any little piece of the puzzle, even if it seems insignificant to you sitting at home, can help us tremendously. So we're asking for that. We're asking for people not to lie to us when we come and try and investigate a crime. We can't control that. But again, it takes us down a path, and we always end up where we need to be. But again, it's the use of the small resources that the city has. It costs money. It costs man-hour to go down the wrong path. And, this isn't a game. And I think we've proven that. When you look at the people from the South Side investigation that are going to be going to jail, most of them for the rest of their life, it's not a game to us. We take this very serious.
Chief, you mentioned 16 shooting incidents in December. Do you know how many have occurred so far in the month of January?
No, I do not, in all honesty. We're early on. I want to say 2. And again, it varies from month to month. I would have to go back and look at it, but we were doing very well. We've had tremendous success with the programs we've put in place with the neighborhood units that are out there doing proactive police work, with the work that our detectives are doing, our partners from the federal and state government. We've had an effect on this. We've unfortunately had a spike, and our solution is we're not going to sit back and say, oh, this was a spike and do nothing. We're going to jump on it and make sure that the people that are responsible are going to get arrested.
Chief, this is not the first time, I've heard you deliver a similar speech over the years, and certainly This is not the first time that you folks have asked for the community's cooperation in helping pinpoint these individuals. What makes you think this is going to make any difference this time?
You have to keep asking. We've had results in the past. It's one of those things, even when we go to community meetings, if there's something happening in someone's direct community, in their neighborhood, we often get a lot of help. And as that's taken care of, the help kind of wanes off. The involvement kind of wanes off. So we have to remind people. And the fact that this is occurring, even though we've touted our successes over the last several years, it just shows you, you can't sit back on your laurels. There's a problem not only in the city of York, but throughout Pennsylvania and our nation with violent crime and with people using illegal guns. And it needs to be addressed. We need to continually address it. And that's what we're going to do. But as I've said before, arresting our way out of this problem isn't going to work. And we're talking with people from the federal government, we're talking with people from the state government about other projects that can be done outside of just arresting people. We know that's not the solution, but obviously what's happening right now isn't working. It's unacceptable, and we're asking for change.
Of the 16 in the month of December, how many of those do you actually believe are somehow connected with each other?
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but a large portion of them.
Are connected?
Sure. Again, say again? I'm not going to go into that. Obviously,
It's gang related?
yes, definitely. A lot of it's gang related. And as I said, after the Southside investigation, that's not going to be the last one. We're going to continue going. We're going to pick the next group. And, Southside investigation came across when we were looking into our problems as to who seemed to want our most attention. And that's what's going to happen here. The group that wants our attention the most is going to get it. And we're going to go back at it and handle it the same way we did the last time.
Do you currently have federal/state working in the city right now?
We have our state and federal partners working in the city with us right now, and we're going to continue to work on the problem. I believe if anyone was to the press conference with the U.S. Attorney's Office, he said right there, we're not leaving. We're here to stay. And, they have been. Christmas Eve, I sat in the office back here with some of our federal partners, looking at what's transpiring in the city. So no one's taking a break even over the holidays. We're very much committed to making sure that this violence gets trampled down.
Of those 16, Chief, have there been any arrests in any of those cases over the month of December?
There's warrants out for some people. We've put that information out. As far as the number that are in custody, I can't say off the top of my head. Again, we arrest people. They're taken into custody. Sometimes they're arrested for things that aren't necessarily related to the violence that they've committed. And then we have to work further down the road to make sure they're arrested for that. Again, when you have people that are unwilling to be victims, when you have people that are lying to you, it makes it a little more difficult. But the guys behind these doors back here, they do a tremendous job. We know who's doing it. We have a lot of suspects identified. So, no one's fooling us. But it's a matter of putting it together for court to make sure that our charges stick.
Chief, a follow-up on the incident in Philadelphia where the officer was shot by a few days ago. In the wake of that incident, are there any plans by you folks to double up on the number of officers that currently assigned to police cars?
No, and I don't believe that that's the answer. I mean, statistics, when you look at them, just as many police officers are shot in two-man vehicles as in one-man vehicles. There was an officer just shot in New York yesterday in a two-man vehicle. So that doesn't necessarily play into it. But what you are seeing across the United States, that I believe our officers are under attack. There's always been violence against our officers, and we're going to be vigilant and learn from the things that happen to try and keep our officers as safe as possible.
Chief, so you said a lot of this is gang related. Is there some specific flashpoint? Are there two or more gangs that are now involved in a beef that they weren't involved in last summer and earlier? Do you know what the nexus was for this increase?
Again, I don't want to get into discussing it tremendously because it's under investigation, but things change. Even us taking individuals off the street from the south side can have a change to a community. It has an initial very positive effect, but there's a lot of money to be made in the drug trade in any of our cities. And so people are going to step up and they're going to try and be the people that make the money next. And violence, unfortunately, comes along with that drug trade.
So this seems to be a drug war at this point?
I'm not saying that.
Are you not saying?
I'm not saying anything about it right now. We've talked before, and a lot of you, I have to keep information close to chest so that when we do talk to people, we know who's lying to us and who isn't. If we put everything out there, then they can just regurgitate it from the press. And right now, we will say a lot of it's gang involved, and we're going to continue working it.
What would you say to Joe Citizen who says the police aren't present enough on my block, or my kids aren't familiar enough with, say, an officer friendly, that sort of thing?
As far as not being familiar, these doors are open. And we have plenty of things going on out there. We have our youth outreach program at Martin Library. We have our bowling program. We hold youth academies. So there's plenty of opportunity to become involved with us. Come down and become involved. I have people that walk through the door on a regular basis that we take their kids for tours within the building. It's a public building. You can walk in and we'll be happy to meet with you and do that. Our officers are out there every day, and they're always in the community working hard. So the first part of the question, I don't buy whatsoever.
Thank you all very much. We do appreciate it very much. We want to thank the men and women of our police department for the work that they do in our community daily to keep us safe. But we need the community to continue to work with us as well, too. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you coming today.